My name is Wally Hayes. I have been around in the area of toxicology for a little over 40 years.
I'm Roger Clemens. I'm with the USC School of Pharmacy.
My name is Peter Pressman. I studied medicine at Northwestern University.
I was trained as a chemist and then became a toxicologist through advanced training and also working on the job.
My background really is in nutrition and biological chemistry. So I understand how food and nutrients and drugs are metabolized in our body and what the benefits may be or the contraindications may be when we consume these kinds of substances.
I was trained at Northwestern, at Rush Press St. Luke's in Chicago, and at the University of Wisconsin.
Hi, Wally. This is the original Roger Clemens. Not that Boston Red Sox.
I actually never seen that.
I think that the important thing that we bring to Forever is the uniqueness of the team, ranging from somebody that is very, very specialized and well-known in the area of nutrition, a clinician, and someone who is well-known and respected in the area of food safety and that broad area of toxicology.
The executive team of this organization is committed to excellence, is committed to safety, is committed to evidence-based positioning of its products and its ingredients. Very few companies will make that kind of commitment.
And I think the thing that struck me the most was the sincerity that Rex, who is the owner of the company, has in wanting to not just develop good products, but to develop products that people all over the world can use, and they can also generate income so that they can have better lives.
A combination of the above, Wally. We looked at sales.
We were extremely impressed with your facilities. The facilities are well managed. The workforce is dedicated, most enthusiastic about what they're doing and the opportunities that they have for working with Forever Living.
My diagnosis here is that this organization is wonderful, and it will be a privilege to work with. And the prognosis is nothing short of exciting and maybe even limitless.
All right, before we get going, I have a number of questions that we've collected from some of our leaders and FBOs, but before we do that, I guess first, Wally, let's start with you. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, if you could.
Okay. I'm just delighted to be here. I am a university professor, spent some time at Harvard University. I'm now at the University of South Florida in the School of Medicine and the College of Public Health. Got a long career in food safety and just excited and delighted to be part of the Scientific Advisory Board for your company.
Fantastic, fantastic. WALLACE Hayes, Peter.
Good morning, guys. So I'm a physician. I've spent most of my life training young physicians, interns and residents at the University of Southern California. I've been a Navy doc. I've served with the United States Navy in the Middle East, Central Asia, and back home in the United States. It's been my pleasure and one of the great achievements and sources of joy in my life to work with these guys at Forever.
Fantastic. Well, guys, gentlemen, come over here. Have a seat if I can invite you to sit down for a moment.
Okay.
We'll give these two to you. I'll come right over here. So, first off, as we get going, I guess it's been a number of months ago, I had the opportunity, along with you, the two of you, and Roger Clemens, who is the other advisory board member that's not with us today, unfortunately, but to visit our facilities. We visited Aloe Vera of America, particularly, and Forever Nutraceuticals. I guess tell us a little bit about your thoughts of Forever as we were introducing you to who we are.
Okay. And I've also had the opportunity to see Forever direct in the Netherlands. You heard a little bit about those facilities. They're better than they told you. They really are fantastic facilities.
As you know by now, my whole emphasis has been public health and medicine. And what struck me first about our visit to Forever was the priority placed on health promotion above and beyond anything else. So you've got great products, you know that stuff intimately. What we know is science and medicine, and that blew me away. And I would also share with you that our colleague, Dr. Roger Clemens, felt exactly the same way. As one of the leading public health and nutrition, food science experts in the world, Roger was tremendously impressed. We were all impressed also with the corporate personality. Everybody is like family, and that's unique. When you have people who genuinely care, there is nothing so infectious as enthusiasm and genuine love.
Appreciate that, Peter.
One other thing that I would just remind all of us is, you heard about these ISO and these awards that the factories have gotten. Those are not easy to come by, particularly the ISO certification. That takes a lot of time, a lot of hard work, a lot of diligent effort to be ISO certified, and you can really be proud of the fact that your factories are so certified.
Wow, thank you. So obviously aloe we are the aloe vera company. Everybody knows us for aloe. We also know there's many different ways out there to process aloe. Can you tell us a little bit difference, I guess, of some of the different ways of processing and which is the best way to go about doing that?
Well, the easy answer is your way, as far as we can tell, is the best way to process it.
There you go.
And I think you heard this morning. You control everything from the plant to the extraction process to the cleanup process to the manufacturing process to the final product. Your competitors don't do this. And the other thing is they are not nearly as careful as Forever is in being sure that those things that might have public health concern are not in your aloe product. So I think that over the course of time, you have developed a process that is the leading in the industry.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Wally. Now, I know recently the two of you, along with Roger, worked on a paper based on aloe. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, we were delighted to engage a project that actually communicated to the scientific community and the clinical community what it was in terms of evidence that distinguishes Forever's products from the rest of the producers in the world. One way to actually attack this there's a terrible problem. Let me back up. There's a real problem with communication and with education, particularly of physicians. And as a physician, I can tell you that we're terrible because we're behind the times. Once we think we know a position well, we stick with it, regardless of the evidence, and we're naturally skeptical of new claims, and we're naturally skeptical of new products. Many of us are called Dr. No because we keep saying no all the time. We're continually discouraging and being very properly skeptical. So what we wanted to do was develop what amounts to a platinum standard of real evidence, of real data, and start to make sense of literally hundreds and hundreds of studies that are out there on various kinds of aloe products, and what the health implications are. And so we wanted to go through comprehensively, identify the good studies, the good science, and make a distinction between those and what they say and the bad stuff, frankly. and therefore communicate to people who are healthcare providers and people in the associated professions about what it is that we know about forever, not only right now, but what the future of these products is likely to be. So basically what we wanted to do with this paper is set a starting point and make it a standard, and then successively update things as we actually see emerging research that's actually very exciting.
Oh, fantastic.
And the other thing that is critical from your standpoint and our standpoint as well is that in the scientific and medical world, we have what's known as peer review of publications. And so that publication has now been submitted to a medical journal, and it is out being reviewed by our colleagues. And when it comes back, they may have some comments, they may not have some comments. But once it gets into the publication itself, it won't be just what we have said or what Forever has said, but there have been other people that have looked at it and said, you know what, this is good stuff, good work, and it's passed what we call the peer review process. And that's very, very important in our communities.
What this allows us to do is actually be enthusiastic about the products. It allows us to jump up and down and drive a pep rally knowing full well that this is not just hype. This is based on real scientific and clinical evidence. And we bring those standards to bear. We present those to the most skeptical and critical people in the profession. And through that vetting process, through the publication, what we can then say is we can then talk to you about our claims and about the product safety and know exactly what we're talking about and be absolutely confident that what we're saying is true.
That's great.
And the other thing that we can add to that, from your standpoint, is once the paper is out, Forever can make as many copies as they want to, and they can share it with all of you people.
Wow. Well, you guys like that? So just let me kind of wrap up this section of it. So we have this paper. It's peer reviewed, so it's going out to doctors, clinics, scientists type, to educate them on your findings of the benefits of aloe vera, right?
Right.
And so you think about, as Peter said, obviously as the world is more educated about aloe, who does that benefit? Benefits the world, and it benefits us. So we are very, very excited about that. We appreciate your guys' time and effort in that. So let's talk specifically about aloe. Peter, maybe I could ask you, what do you see as a medical doctor as the benefits of aloe being applied topically on the skin?
Well, you guys are well aware, historically, there's enormous benefit. There is literally centuries of reports, of impressionistic data that say that aloe is tremendously soothing, it's protective, it promotes healing. There are a number of really exciting reports now in terms of mechanisms that are antimicrobial. So when you talk about immunology, for example, we're talking about direct antimicrobial action. We're suppressing bacterial growth and some viruses as well, and molds. You're talking about also activating the immune system of the skin. We can talk more later about the immunology in the gut, but as far as topical products go, I think this is a great question, Gary, because even though people have known for centuries, for thousands of years for that matter,
you get a burn, you put aloe on it.
You get a burn, you put aloe on it. We're now understanding that wound healing, for example, skin healing, not only from superficial burns, but also from significant injury, is accelerated by many of your products. And we know that aloe, that there are certain compounds, there are bioactives within aloe that actually activate the white blood cells that crawl through the skin. In other words, the macrophages are activated. they become like linebackers with better lateral pursuit. And they attack the bacteria more effectively.
Kind of like Gary was when
Kinda
he
like
played
Gary, exactly.
ball in the old days.
Yeah, that's
Exactly.
right.
Although I kind of see Gary more as a Mike Ditka character now.
So what you're saying then is not only is it good for soothing, but what you're saying is it actively stimulates the healing. There's research out there that shows that has the potential
I think that's
to actively stimulate the healing.
And
yeah.
I think the other exciting thing is that Peter mentioned just very briefly is within the aloe there are a lot of potentially bioactive materials that as we look towards the future, there are going to be some exciting things that Forever is going to be able to develop to pass on to you guys.
Great, thank you guys. So we talked about the application topically on the skin. How about our aloe vera gel? How about ingesting, drinking aloe? What are some of the benefits there that you've found?
Well, again, and I would be in talking about this, I'd be very specific in referring to your products. Because there are a lot of products out there that we know of, that we've heard about, that represent edible aloe. And a lot of those products are not necessarily safe, and they're not necessarily effective. In fact, some of the effects that people look for, particularly the GI effects, go along with the toxicity of aloe that has not been processed the way you process it. So right away, I would say that stuff is unique. And the benefits, I think we're just looking at the tip of the iceberg, frankly, at this point. You know, as Wally has talked about, a lot of the bioactives, and this is a field now that's emerging called glycobiology, and it has to do with complex sugars, actually, we call polysaccharides. Now, this is not added sugar. This is not table sugar. But we're talking about active, smaller compounds that are implicated now because of the research to have marvelous effects on everything from serum glucose, in other words, diabetes, type 2 diabetes, metabolic syndrome, obesity, hypertension, and even some forms of malignancy, some forms of cancer. You have to be very guarded in those claims, but the research is there and it is emerging, and I can tell you it's frankly exciting. So,
and then just the antioxidants, the vitamin C that's there, these are the things that we know about now that are beneficial. But as we begin to look in the future, I think we're going to find some really exciting things within the product that we don't know about today.
As research technology advances, there'll be greater discoveries.
And also, Gary, you know, you talked earlier about vitamin C, and one of the things that strikes me all the time, many of us are very guarded about pushing nutritional supplements.
Sure.
You always want to have your critical micronutrients and minerals coming from food, not so much supplements, not so much the capsules or tablets that you might buy. The vitamin C in foods, like aloe, is so much more available biologically that it's actually more efficient and more effective. Furthermore, it's much harder to overdose on these than it is to, you probably don't know this, but we see a lot of significant illness. It's the result of vitamin overdose. We have hypervitaminosis C, where excessive vitamin C can cause problems. Excessive vitamin A, excessive vitamin D, any of these vitamins.
Yeah, the essential vitamins and minerals have a too much, not enough. Yeah. And you have to get that balance, and your product has that balance.
Correct? Absolutely. Yeah. This is important.
Great, great. We've talked a little bit about aloe. Let's shift gears. I know one thing that in my discussions with both of you and also with Roger, that you all three really believe in and are very passionate about is probiotics.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about why that would be?
Why don't you start off?
Oh, sure.
I'll pick up.
Okay, so probiotics are basically good bacteria. they're bacteria that can coexist with your normal bacteria in the gut. I think we all know by now that this thing called the microbiome of the gut describes all the natural flora components that exist in your bowel. These are primarily extremely important. However, with illness, with stress, with various kinds of insults, the microbiome can be temporarily disturbed and imbalanced. What probiotics can do, for example, in the case of antibiotic side effects, what probiotics can do is replace those good bacteria that have been killed incidentally by the antibiotic, restoring that balance of the microbiome and allowing the bacteria that help us, that exist within us as colonists, to continue to provide all the benefits that they do provide. And we know more and more now that they create compounds, they create metabolites that are very important for health, for immunity, for all kinds of things. So that's a probiotic. And we also talk about prebiotics. And prebiotics are essentially the food for probiotics. And that's important when we talk about aloe, because certain components in aloe can serve as prebiotics.
Nutrients for the
Exactly.
probiotics.
Exactly. So what you guys have done is stack the deck a little bit, because you've chosen wonderfully complementary and safe strains of probiotics.
So putting it in kind of some easy terms to understand, from what I understand what you're saying, Peter, is you drink the gel, and what the gel is doing is making the ground fertile, for lack of a better term, for the probiotics,
Perfect.
the good bacteria you want in your gut to be able to grab a hold and start to grow, and so your body sees the benefits of that. Is that kind of a way of looking at it?
I think that's a great analogy.
Yeah.
Perfect. You know, as you both know, our probiotic contains 6 different strains. Why would that be important compared to just a single strain probiotic that you find out there in the market?
Well, there are complementary functions to the products that each strain produces. So you want to have a balance of bioactive products. At the same time, you want to assure also viability. In other words, the liveliness of each of those organisms. And what you're doing by including multiple strains is increasing the robustness of the product itself. You're increasing the shelf life as well as the efficacy within the body.
And how do those different, so I guess I look at it from a layman's terms. You have 6 different strains. How do they each serve a different purpose within the?
Well, that's a great question, Gary, and I think we've identified certain components from each of these strains. More importantly, though, is what's known as the entourage effect. So the entourage effect is basically a synergism that you get when all these work together. And I think that's the best way of responding to that. You're really, it's not so much what each one produces, it's the combined effect of the entourage.
The power that they create being together, the 2 + 2 = 5.
Exactly.
Yep.
Fantastic, great. I want to chat to you about another product, L-arginine. You know that Greg showed us our RG Plus product, which is a great seller for us. We introduced it a number of years ago, and it's one of our favorite products, but I think sometimes we don't quite understand. We see the benefit of it, but we don't quite understand the benefit. Could you explain to us a little bit about what L-arginine is?
Well, I think the thing that we need to remind ourselves of is that amino acids are something that we have to have. And there are 22 essential amino acids, and arginine is one of them. And if we didn't have it, then we would not be able to have normal metabolism. And we can't necessarily all the time produce a sufficient amount. And so by supplying it through your product in the right form, because only the L form is usable by humans. If it's in the D form, we can't use it. So we now have a help in those amino acids that we have to have for our normal metabolism. And then that arginine goes into what we would call the metabolic system. And it allows many things to move forward in our metabolism, such things as nitrogen oxide, which is essential in almost every cell, and it boosts and increases the energy level. Anything you want to add to that?
Well, I think arginine, I think, great. Arginine is again, one of the building blocks not only of proteins, which are the structural components of the body, they also make up the enzymes that we find are critical for metabolic processes. So we've got structure, we've got enzymes, we've got their role in the production of hormones. So obviously, the essential amino acids that produce all these downstream products are absolutely critical. So supplying that as a supplement is important. Arginine itself, as a building block, as a precursor for nitric oxide, as Wally said, is particularly important as we recognize now how important nitric oxide is, particularly in terms of vascular health. You know, this is the era of vascular biology.
And by vascular health, you're talking about the heart.
I'm talking about the heart
and the blood vessels.
So we're talking about, this is where we really get into supporting the health of the cardiovascular system in general, and in particular, literally the very dynamic function of that system. We now know that the lining of the blood vessels is actually an organ in and of itself. It's that metabolically active. And when you can support the function of the endothelium, which is the lining of those blood vessels, what you're doing is directly modulating things like blood pressure. So it's very, very critical as an amino acid.
And that, Peter, let me just clarify, that is because of the nitric oxide that the L-arginine helps to produce within the body?
Exactly.
It's needed every cell.
You go arginine, and then nitric oxide, and then the impact on the target organ itself.
And I think one of the things that Peter can talk to much more than I can, but we forget so often that, you know, we say males have heart attacks. Females have heart attacks
because of the males.
Even more so. Well, maybe because of the male, but it's not just a male problem. It's a male and a female issue, the cardiovascular system.
Absolutely.
So this is, from an L-arginine standpoint, this is something that should be taken generally by everybody, by male, female alike.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Absolutely.
One of the things that I know when we had a conversation that you pointed out to us that we, you know, honestly, we knew the greatness of our aloe vera gel. It's been around since the very beginning and has been always one of our top selling products. As I mentioned, we introduced the RG a few years ago, and it's been a great selling product. And we've had a lot of our FBOs. How many of you love RG? You love RG? Have seen the benefits from it. And then last year we launched our brand new probiotic and the 6 strains, a great product and stuff. But one of the things that you had mentioned to us is you pointed out the benefit of combining those 3 products in a daily regimen. Can you explain to us why, what effect does the gel along with the RG, along with the probiotic give to each of us every day if we start our day out that way?
Well, you know, that's really another great question. And if you think about it, they're complementary to each other. You've got the gel with all of the vitamins and the minerals, and as a food for the probiotics, and then you've got the arginine coming in to help with the essential amino acids, getting into the nitrogen oxide, and so you've got this complementary suite of materials that are working together as opposed to fighting each other.
What I would add also is one of the nice things about the combination of the probiotics and the arginine is that you see that the probiotics will actually accelerate the synthesis of nitric oxide.
Meaning
the probiotics speed up the production of the nitric oxide. So they actually help the arginine building blocks lead to that nitric oxide.
And the gel is helping the probiotic likewise, that therefore then helps the RG.
It's all that synergism in between the three of them.
It's a beautiful flow, right? Exactly.
Great, fantastic. Well, gentlemen, we appreciate your time. Before we finish up, I want to ask you one last question. I know both of you have traveled the world. You have spoken at many different events. You have papers you've published. Your resume, your credibility is off the charts, and we're glad to have you be part of our team. But let me ask you one last thing. What is one thing that has impressed you about Forever Living? The thing that's impressed you the most?
The people that are behind the scenes, making sure that the products are produced under the scrutiny of this tremendous quality system that you have in place, so that when it gets out and the customer gets it, he knows or she knows that the quality of that product is as stated on the label.
Fantastic. Thank you, Wally. Peter?
Thank you.
Commitment to health promotion.
Yep.
Health?
Commitment to health promotion, and you stand up to that. You really do stand up to that. And as Wally said, it's you guys, it's the people. At every single level, it's the people.
There are two things that we would leave you with. Is one, the products are good products, but from my standpoint, and I think from Peter and Roger, we've looked and they're products that you can be proud of, yes, but they're safe products. They're safe to be consumed, and that's very important from our standpoint.
Fantastic. Let's give him a big round of applause. Wallace Hayes. Thank you, Wallace.
Hi guys, this is Gary Shreve here. We are at the Eagle Manager Retreat. I just literally walked off stage where we made a very, very exciting announcement. We just announced our new partnership with our Scientific Advisory Board, and you're actually lucky enough to have one of them here with me, Dr. Wallace Hayes. We decided, as you know, product quality is the most important thing to us here at Forever. We always want to make sure we have the best and best products out there, and that we're reaching to be on the forefront of the product industry. And so we have a great research and development team within Forever. Experts, professionals do a wonderful job, but we thought it was time to maybe reach externally and partner up with someone that might be able to help us as we move into the future. And so hence we went out and we found Dr. Hayes and actually two other of his colleagues that have partnered up with us to help us as we develop products in the future that will help you build your Forever business. So Dr. Hayes, if I could just ask you a couple questions. I guess first off, tell all of our fabulous FBOs around the world a little bit about yourself and maybe about your partners that are teaming up with us.
Okay. Let me start with the partners first. We're all in this little small consulting firm that we call Polyscience. Roger Clemens is a professor at the University of Southern California in the School of Pharmaceutical Sciences, where he teaches a number of courses, one of which has to do with regulation of additives, dietary supplements. Roger's a past president of the International Food Technology Society, which has about 20,000 members around the world. So Roger's our expert in nutrition and biochemistry of food materials. Second individual is Peter Pressman. Peter is a physician. Not only is a physician, but he is a flight surgeon. He spent a number of years in the Navy working with individuals who needed medical help in Afghanistan and Iraq. Not just the Americans, but the locals. And he's very passionate about bringing good medicine to underdeveloped parts of the world. And I'm Wally Hayes. I hold appointments at Michigan State University and the College of Public Health at the University of South Florida. One of the things that has given us, I think, the ability to respond to some of the things that you want us to respond to is the fact that I was the Secretary General for 2 terms of the International Union of Toxicology, which has some 20,000 members around the world. So between the 3 of us, we have an outreach that is really worldwide, even beyond the 162 countries that you work in.
That's right.
And if we can't answer the question, or if we need help in one of these countries, we can turn to our colleagues over there. And then the other thing that I think kind of sets us apart, at least from my standpoint, is that I'm the editor of one of the major textbooks in toxicology. So that's kind of a summary of the group. We've got about 120 years of experience between us. We mesh very well together, but we're distinct in our areas of expertise.
Very much so. I actually had the opportunity to travel with the 3 of them to go visit Oliver, America, probably about 1.5 months, 2 months ago, and visit our facilities. We took them on the tour through our labs, through our quality department, and then we flew to actually here in Phoenix to visit Forever Nutraceuticals. And basically did the same thing, and we ended up in Scottsdale visiting the home office. And I can tell you from my perspective, one of the things that impressed me the most is not only did we have 3 very intelligent, well-educated individuals, but years of experience and wisdom that only comes through that work experience. And also, as Wally mentioned, very different backgrounds. And yet when you see the synergy that those backgrounds brings and meshes together is very, very powerful. If I can just ask you a few questions, Wally, that we've received from some of our FBOs. As you travel around, and we went to Ava, we visit Forever Nutraceuticals, what impressed you the most? What was the thing that stood out to you the most?
The people. The people that work in these facilities, they're dedicated, they're well-trained, and they want to do a good job.
As you know, not only do we have the best FBOs around the world, but we believe we have the best employees around the world. And I think that's what you saw there was their dedication. As you mentioned you've been doing this for a number of years, and you've had the opportunity to travel the globe. I'm sure you've been in numerous laboratories around the globe. You went into our laboratory at Forever Nutraceutical, also at Oliver, America. What impressed you, or I guess that you found that was different from ours and some of the others that you've seen?
I think the thing that again sets us apart are the people. Management has provided the facilities, provided the instrumentation, and that's true in most big companies around the world. The equipment to do the job is there. But if you don't have the dedicated people that want to do the job, and in talking to the people, they weren't 3-month, 6-month employees, not even 2- and 3-year employees. We met people that had been with you for 25 and 30 years doing the job that they love to do and doing it right. Not only because they were dedicated, but because you had trained them and allowed them to progress in their work in these particular locations.
Fantastic.
And also, you didn't mention, but I also got to go to Forever Direct in the Netherlands, and I saw the same type of situation there as well.
Great. As you all know, over the last 1.5 years or so, we've invested significant amounts of money into our new aseptic process. The new aseptic process, as we've explained to you in the past, is the way that we process the gel that goes into our new Tetra Paks. The benefit to this is actually as it flows through the system, it's heated for just a handful of seconds to a flash heat that is high enough to kill any of the bacteria, the molds, viruses, all the bad stuff that we obviously don't want in our gel. And what that's allowed us to do is to be able to remove any preservatives and make it a better, fresher product, and actually increase the nutritional value of it. From your expertise, scientific expertise, what's your thoughts and opinions on the aseptic process?
I think that's absolutely the way to go. And I think the other thing that we should mention is at the end of this aseptic technique, you actually evaluate what comes out. And the mold count, the bacterial count are all significantly down, in most cases absent. And so this allows then the Forever people to talk to their clients and tell them, look, we know you don't like preservatives, and the fewer things that we can put into the product are better. We've taken that under consideration and we're doing it this way. It's every bit as good, if not better, than the way we did it before.
Very much so.
Great process.
Yeah. And that allows us now to have actually 99.7% pure aloe vera gel in those new Tetra Packs, which is phenomenal. Now, one of the things that we at Forever have gone to seek your advice and your help with you and Peter and Roger is there's this misconception around the world that sometimes that all aloe is toxic. You see these reports that come out here and there, and I know that the three of you actually are working on a paper to help us combat that misperception. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
We are only now getting into the process, but from what we've been able to determine at this stage, that it is the decolorized aloe that's the issue. Forever Living does not use that type of aloe. And the distinction is that you own your own aloe fields. I don't remember how many acres you have, but we saw a picture of it. It's a very, very large aloe field. You control that. So you know what kind of pesticides, what kind of fungicides might be put onto it. You know the soil characteristics. But the important thing is when you bring your product to the factory, you strip off only the outer leaf. Whereas most other companies grind up the whole thing. Yep. And so you get a mixture that you don't have in your product. And it's that mixture that contains the chemical that's of concern. And so we're going to be looking at that and putting together a paper that we're going to submit to a peer-reviewed journal. And it's an open access journal which says that the company can use it freely, the FBOs can use it freely, so they'll be able to hand it to their customers and say, we've looked at this, we understand your concern, here's the answer to your question.
Yes, all of you know, we only use the inner gel. We take off the shell, the rind of it, dispose of that. It actually ends up going back into our fields, but we only use the pure gel from inside, and hence being able to avoid what a lot of people see. And the easy route is obviously to take it and
the whole
grind
thing,
it up.
But let's do it right.
Yeah.
Which you're doing.
Which we always do it Forever. So, one last question, Dr. Hayes, I'd like to ask you. Of all the companies out there around the globe, and I'm sure you and your colleagues get approached often, why Forever? Why did you decide to partner up with us rather than someone else?
Two reasons. One, we had the opportunity to visit these two facilities, and we were impressed with the people that were working there. If we had thought that the workers were sloppy, were not well trained, we would have said goodbye, we're not going to go further. Then we came to the headquarters and we met the executive group, Rex included, and basically Rex's conversation to me was, I have built a company over 40 years with integrity. I don't want to lose that. And we said to him, we built our names over 40 years with integrity. We don't want to lose that. And he said, together we can go forward and neither one of us will lose that integrity.
Fantastic. Well, there guys, you have it. We're excited to announce our new Scientific Advisory Board, including here with me today, Dr. Hayes. You'll have the opportunity to meet some of the others here in the near future. Again, guys, we're proud of you. Thank you for being part of the Forever family.